So back in the 50s, I was born in 1953, when people were running for office back in Minnesota, there were a lot of one-word answers: raise taxes, lower taxes, more Social Security, more Medicare, whatever.
Grow the economy.
Exactly.
It all worked out.
I think that what is different about this moment, James, is if you're running for office and you're an honest politician, actually there are 100 different answers. It's not going to be just one simple fix, okay? And what's also scary is they change every year. All right, and so the old days we can just sort of rely on, I'm a Democrat, that's what this means, you know.
Right.
So let's go down the list. Well, so let me ask you a question. We'll do a thought experiment, James. I'm a member of the steel union in Pittsburgh today, okay? Monday to Friday, oh man, I'm with labor. Solidarity, baby, solidarity.
Right.
But on Saturday, I drive for Uber. And on Sunday, I rent out my kid's spare bedroom on Airbnb. And in the afternoon, I go over to Walmart to get the cheapest Chinese-made goods I can. And what I can't find there, I buy from a bot on Amazon.com.
Right.
Monday to Friday, I'm with labor, baby. Saturday and Sunday, I'm with capital. So how do you give a party that spans those two interests? Yeah.
Well, those interests actually vary even more. Let me
please,
add to the thought experiment. Right. One of the things that's quite striking is that, so if you look at individuals, I would argue individuals are several things in a political economy. Mm-hmm. They're consumers.
Yes.
They're workers.
Mm-hmm.
They are savers or investors.
Mm-hmm.
They're citizens. Mm-hmm. And then they're human beings who live in a planet that's prone to environmental and other change.
Good way to put it. I like
if you
this.
take all those parts of us,
Right.
there was a time 50 years ago.
They all lined up.
They all lined up.
Yeah.
So what was good for one is good for the other, right? They all largely lined up. Today, it's unclear, right? Take globalization. Was wonderful for consumers, for people as consumers.
Right.
They could shop anywhere. They could get cheap products. Product cost of consumption went down dramatically. Great story. What about people as workers? Not so clear.
Yeah.
Not so clear. People as investors, right? So
fantastic. I
on
can
the one
invest
end,
in the Zimbabwe stock market.
absolutely,
Now, you know.
absolutely can invest anywhere.
Yeah.
I can invest in anything. Look at the returns.
Yeah.
So unless so on the one hand,
I like that a lot. That's
I
very
may
good.
hate things as a worker,
Right.
but as an investor, I may like what's happening in the economy, in the stock market.
Yeah.
Then there's the person as a citizen. A worker is tied up in these global value chains. They're not national, but a citizen is. For the most part, when it comes to people voting or participating, they tend to participate as workers. Mm-hmm. You can more closely correlate their choices
Interesting.
as workers as opposed to as consumers,
Right.
as opposed to so I think one of the challenges we now have is the things, as you said, that used to line up, whether it's political parties or the interests of the individual, they've all been taken apart.
Exactly. And that's why I tend to use the theme of nature as a much better framework for thinking about this moment we're going through than political science.
So how do you think about that? Because now if I'm a company or anybody in the market economy, do I now have to think about people as consumers, as workers, as citizens? I never had to think about that question before.
Absolutely.
Some might even think that, even the way we measure success needs to go much beyond just simply shareholder value creation, right? We need to, whether we borrow from, one of the things that the Europeans have always done is they've always had more of a stakeholder model, where at the table you've got labor and workers and everybody. But is that to suggest that we, in addition to the transparency, should market capitalists be moving more in that stakeholder
So I
direction?
find myself much more attracted to that Danish Scandinavian model. Right. I think it's more relevant than ever. But when I total up, James, everything we've been talking about, I always tell people, it's such a cliche, we're at a Gutenberg moment. I believe we are at such a moment. We just happen to be here when the printing press of the 21st century version, the internet and big data and AI was born. And it is changing everything. And that's the common denominator in our conversation. It's changing business, it's changing citizenship, it's changing communities, changing countries. And therefore, unless you transform your party, your community, to be a complex adaptive coalition that can respond at the speed of this change when national governments can't and the single family's too weak, you're not. We're all going to be in trouble. So you and I can talk about what's right, but that's really what we need. It's a different approach to thinking about all of these issues.